Titans Talk here on SportsLine this evening. I'm Jonathan Hutton with game day host for Titans Radio, Rhett Bryan. Phone lines are open, talking Titans football, 615-737-7767. Our number if you'd like to talk about yesterday's game, look ahead to the season, talk about stories of the past, which we're going to do coming up this hour. Rhett has been there and seen that throughout the years. You've been traveling with this team since it came to Nashville?
Since 1999. I started in the summer of 1997 when I was still working as a disc jockey on when WGFX used to be a music station. It was Arrow 104.5, playing classic hits of the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And they brought in a guy named Larry Stone from North Carolina and had been running the North Carolina Tar Heels radio network. And I was kind of the resident sports nut in the building at 506 2nd Avenue, and he said, hey, you want to cover a National Football League team? I said, are you kidding me? Absolutely, because we knew the Oilers were coming to town, and I think that afternoon I took an old cassette player, Marantz player with a hardwired mic, and went to the Lowe's Vanderbilt Plaza Hotel, and there we had a press conference with K.S. Bud Adams and with Eddie George and with Bruce Matthews, and next thing you know, I'm in the middle of the July and August heat at Hale Stadium at TSU in the summer of '97, covering the first.
You don't miss that, do you?
Not really, not really.
The practices at Hale Stadium?
No, not really, not really. St. Thomas Sports Park will do just fine in terms of that. But yeah, I started traveling with the team in '99 and have been traveling ever since. So.
Well, we were talking about Marcus Mariota prior to the break, and this will tie into your coverage of training camps over the years. But one thing I've noticed, and my first year with Titans Radio was McNair's final season of 2005 with the team. And from there to now, I don't think we've seen another quarterback come through there that has not just there's a moxie about him, but there's also, with Mariota, there's just this level-headedness where the fame doesn't really seem to get to him. The highs are never too high, the lows are never too low, and that was apparent from the first practice and the first time he took the podium.
You know, you're exactly right. I talked to his position coach, John McNulty, quarterback's coach for the Titans, about this about 2 or 3 weeks ago. In fact, it was right before the Tampa game. And I said, his poise and composure, is that a valuable tool to him and to you guys as maybe his skill set in and of itself? He said, no question about it, because just like you said, there are no too high points, no too low points. He seems to have a short memory, like you're supposed to, good or bad play. Yep. I've never seen a young man, first of all, as classy as he is, as poised and as humble as he is. And he has command of that locker room and his teammates already. There's a tremendous respect there that I haven't seen by that position since number 9.
And here's the thing about Mariota that stood out to me. And look, I've been the first to admit on 104.5 The Zone that I was all for giving Zach Mettenberger another year and just seeing this thing play out with him. I'm
right there with you.
I was fine with it because I looked at Mettenberger as the pocket passer. I looked at quarterbacks around the league that were having success with downfield offenses, and I was thinking to myself, Mettenberger fits that mold as one of the best arms literally in the league when it just comes to slinging the football around. And I wanted to see a bigger picture with Mettenberger other than the 6 games that we saw. When they drafted Mariota, things changed because you knew immediately why they did that. They drafted a franchise quarterback. They drafted a guy who was going to come in, not be a 9 to 5 guy. He's not going to show up at 9 and leave at 5 p.m. and say, okay, he's in the barn for the day. He really, really studies his craft. That shows on game day because he's not the quarterback. Well, I take that back. He is the quarterback that we saw at Oregon, but he can do much more than he was asked to do at Oregon, and that has shown through the first 3 weeks where you're not seeing him look one way and then automatically run.
His mental aptitude, his acumen for the game, his recall skills are ridiculous, and I think that's one of the reasons. You know, and when you think about this, he did so many things as a mobile quarterback in college. There's been a knock against those kinds of things, especially with, you know, the RG3 story that's going on now in Washington that's just a dumpster fire, and how, you know, all these mobile quarterbacks, and Jake Locker, the last one, you know, that guy could run, but he got hurt.
That's right.
So there's kind of a knock there. This guy's completely come in and changed that immediately. And to your point, you and I were talking before the Combine back in February. Well, they're going to draft Leonard Williams out of Southern Cal. They're going to beef up the front line, and they'll have Daquan Jones and Leonard Williams and Jarrell Casey in that 3-4, and they're going to get after the quarterback. And somewhere along the line, it changed. And it changed when they went to Oregon and they worked him out privately and fell head over heels in love with the guy. And I certainly see why now.
Yeah, it makes total sense. And the way the offense is running right now, you can see them developing around Marcus on a weekly basis. And that's going to be fun to watch throughout the rest of the season. 615-737-7767. We have a lot of Davids on the line.
Okay.
So I'm going to go by the David that has been on hold the longest, who is on line 2. David, welcome in. How are you?
Yes, this is David.
Yeah, go right ahead.
This ties into what y'all were just talking about, Mariota. Yesterday at the game, I was in the end zone, and when he was passing, he pretty much stayed in the pocket and didn't move the pocket much. And I don't believe there was a single running play for him, and I just wanted to get y'all's take on why he did not run yesterday. If they are telling him not to, but he had some lanes where he could have made big yards yesterday. I'll hang up and listen.
I don't think they're telling him not to run. I don't think he's necessarily looking to run. He's literally reading what's there. He's looking at his options. I think you're exactly right.
He's not panicking. He's going through his progressions, and I think maybe back in the back of his mind, it may be, I need to develop as passer first because this is what's going to get me by in this league. And of course, we may never know what that truly is right now and what's going on internally, but I think you're exactly right. I think he is receiving the call from Ken Wisenhunt in his headset inside of his helmet, and he is executing that play. And to David's point, he has 8 passing touchdowns. He has 5 rushes in the season already through 3 games. That's it.
But that is certainly an area where we could see more development with him. I mean, I'd
like to have seen it on the 2-point conversion try yesterday.
Maybe so. But look, I don't disagree with that play call. We took a lot of calls today on Midday 180 about that, and I don't disagree with lining up and running the football from the 1-yard line when you have a 340-pound left guard in Byron Bell. Mm-hmm. You've got Taylor Lewan at left tackle. You've got a big offensive line, and you drafted Justin Fowler for that very reason. And standing on the sidelines, there was absolutely no hesitation from Wisenhunt and the staff. When that penalty, when they held Harry Douglas on that slant, and the ball was moved up to the 1-yard line, there was no hesitation.
You knew immediately what he was going to call. Yeah.
And that's what Wisenhunt said he wants the identity to be. He was challenging that identity. He wanted to see that. Is what he said post-game.
And to your co-host, Paul Kuharski of the Midday 180 and ESPN.com, it's the first time he's really mentioned something related to an identity for this ball team. When he's been asked about it before, he shied away from those questions and didn't really answer.
Yeah, he always said, well, we'll just have to see what develops there. We'll find out what our identity is.
Right.
We go back to the phones. David is on line 4. David, thanks for calling. Welcome in.
Yes.
Hey, David.
Hey, how you doing?
Great.
I just want to know, do Griffin have do he have a new contract with us? I mean, because they passed that Andrew Luck through, and now those 3 guys in the secondary were back there, and they just let him catch it. And Griffin is always he's not in position, and he's missing tackles, and on the 2-point tries, why didn't they swing Mariota out on the end and let him run in? I just don't understand.
David, we'll discuss it. And Rhett, you were talking about using Mariota. I think that's exactly how you were describing that play. You would have some kind of run-pass option with him.
Well, I think about another point that Paul Kuharski made today on your show. Jeff Fisher was one of the most conservative coaches you'd ever see. He'd go put 3 through the uprights and keep tacking on points. But when it came to those situations, number 9 had the ball in his hands. I saw it firsthand with a busted sternum in the Meadowlands in 2002. They beat Kerry Collins and the Giants on the road and came from behind. And it was a big deal. It was a big play, and it was probably the best player capable with that football in his hands.
Well, I think it's an easy second guess because the play didn't work, obviously, and Fowler had no chance to get that ball into the end zone for 2 points. But The size up front, they're bigger up front for a reason. They went draft heavy running back for a reason. They drafted Fowler in the 4th round. And the fact that Indianapolis, the one thing we talked about all offseason with them was, did they do enough in the trenches to be a true Super Bowl contender? That was challenged on that play. And that speaks volumes to what they were able to do.
Absolutely.
On that. Indy made a good play. I mean, give the Colts credit. Now back to Griffin. Griffin's in the final year of his contract right now for the Titans secondary. 3rd and 20 is just absolutely crushing down the field from Luck to the receivers, and one for a touchdown. But you get in those situations. Titans will take those situations all day long. Pass rush was pretty good throughout the day. Secondary, they got to find the football better. There has to be a sense of where the football is in the air. I think for the most part yesterday, they were in good coverage. It's just turning and finding the football, and I can point to both of those 3rd down conversions as 2 examples of trying to do that.
Well, and you would think, and maybe it will pay dividends in games to come, but they bring in Denoris Searcy, the 4th-year man out of Buffalo. In fact, you'll see his old teammate next Sunday at the next home game after the bye week. But they bring him in at strong safety, and they move Griffin back to free safety so he can roam around more. And it hadn't helped a whole lot so far. Hopefully that will pay some dividends in games to come, because they certainly need it.
And David, I know where you're coming from on that phone call. I hear it a lot. Just to speak on Griffin's behalf, he was one of the toughest competitors on the field last year. I won't say it changed my mind on him, but leadership in the locker room through a tough season and playing through injuries, the guy deserves a lot of credit for what he did last year in pads for that team. Especially, it was week 12, I think, where he hurt his shoulder.
Yeah.
And the pain that guy was playing through was incredible. So,
and had multiple surgeries in the offseason to get back to where he is today.
Yeah. And it's a position that they'll certainly address, I think. But with Griffin and Searcy, they're looking for an upgrade at that spot. 615-737-7767, our number. 615-737-7767. Rhett mentioned Buffalo coming up a week from this Sunday. Pre-game coverage on Titans Radio begins at 11 a.m. on 104.5 The Zone. Titans Radio coverage across the network there. Kickoff at noon. You can also catch that game on News Channel 5. Buffalo, they're legit.
They really are.
They knocked out Miami. Miami had a dud of a game yesterday. Bills go on the road in Miami and win. They're coming in with a lot of momentum. And the Titans trying to get back to 500.
Well, and I think the thing that you are concerned with as a Titans fan is getting Chance Warmack back and getting your starting 5 set and ready, because you knew when they hired Rhett Bryan they were going to have defense.
Yep.
And they certainly have that. You saw what they did to Andrew Luck 2 weeks ago. And they've got to protect him, and that ball security is a job number 1, and protecting Mariota's right there with it. And Tyrod Taylor, that guy started to make some plays, and he has got wheels too.
Every week I keep saying I'll believe it next week with Tyrod Taylor, and he continues to play well.
He really does.
Continues to play well. And Rhett Bryan, I believe, said this in the offseason. He likes Tyrod Taylor because he's the style and the type of quarterback that always gave him fits as a defensive coordinator.
Yeah. Well, this is a guy that we saw him play at Virginia Tech under Frank Beamer, and came in through Baltimore and hung around, I think, the practice squad a little bit, and was 3rd string quarterback for a while, and then I think eventually became the backup, and then got his chance finally, and he's making the best of it so far.
Rhett Bryan is the executive producer and game day host on the Titans Radio Network. When we come back, we're going to go down memory lane with Rhett. He's been with the team since 1999. I'm going to ask him about his favorite players over the years, favorite places to visit, maybe a place where he missed the team flight. That's all coming up. SportsLine, News Channel 5 Plus.